is an army. You've met the invaders, ants. Now, meet the exterminator, the Orkin Man. Armed with one of the most sophisticated pest control systems in the world, he wipes out ants, destroys the nest, and prevents their return. Guaranteed. The Orkin Man. One call destroys them all.
What do you think? What do you think?
It was my usual day at Burger King, or so I thought. Suddenly, I was swept into a wild Mexican menu. Chicken burritos, beef tacos, chicken nachos, cheese nachos, and chicken fajita salad. Was this Acapulco? With food this good, it could only be Burger King.
The new Menu Mexicana at Burger King.
Buenos dias.
Right away at Burger King now.
He said, "Die, daughter, die." And then he killed her. An ancient custom comes home to America. A chilling prime time, Thursday.
Continuing our discussion now, Senator Proxmire, what is it that makes things like this bad check scandal happen? Is there something in the air on Capitol Hill that makes the politicians forget where they came from?
Well, the astonishing thing to me is we've had this kind of an arrangement for the House of Representatives for 100 years. We don't have it in the United States Senate. We don't have it in any state legislature. It's a very, very peculiar kind of an arrangement. But I think that what happens in Washington when you come down here is, after all, you do what the other fellas do, and they've gotten a pretty cushy deal. As I say, you've got the newsletters, you've got a wonderful staff. They would do anything you want to. They'll do whatever you tell them to do. You can have that staff back in your home district working to get you reelected. I think it's what we should do, recognizing the enormous difficulty this country is in with the colossal unbalanced budget we have, the deficits we're running. We ought to start with the Congress. After all, they're the ones who spend the money, and cut the salaries to $50,000 a year. Say that members of Congress could not be allowed to travel except by coach in commercial. They couldn't travel with the jet planes they do now in first class. And let them, make them live like everybody else until we balance the budget.
Mike Barnacle, I see a big smile from you up there in Boston. You agree with the senator's ideas?
Well, to some extent. If they lived like everybody else, though, they'd be unemployed. There's a lot of other people who are unemployed. You know, the problem is they go to Washington, D.C., and they, like a lot of other people who go to Washington, D.C., begin to fool around on their spouses. They think they're invisible. They're surrounded by people who call them by their titles. The ego takes over. They constantly think in terms of I, me. They're always running for re-election no matter what they do. When something like this comes along, the public, I think, becomes very prone to lapsing towards amateur hour. They will go for anyone this September and this November rather than the incumbent, no matter that the incumbent might be terrific, might do a terrific job. They see something like this going on and they say, hey, there's a double standard here. I can't go into the supermarket and write checks for a year and a half and say, check you later. And yet you can go into the House of Representatives and they carry you for 2 years.
Congressman McHugh, how do you explain it? Politicians in Washington wrapping themselves in perks and privileges that you've got to know drive the voters back home absolutely crazy.
Well, you know, Chris, I spend a lot of time back home with my constituents. I think I have some feel for what people are thinking and what they're concerned about. Frankly, they're a lot more concerned about being out of work. They're a lot more concerned about 35 million people without health insurance.
Well, they may well be, Congressman, and in fact, they largely blame Congress for that as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's
one of the things that they also, I mean, and if we can stick to the subject, one of the things that they're also upset about, though, are the congressional pay raises, fixing tickets, this check bouncing scandal. I mean, look, Chris, why do congressmen do those things?
Listen, Chris, you really lack a sense of proportion on this show, if I may say so. People are concerned about Congress. People are concerned about government. But this is a situation which cost the taxpayers nothing. It's a situation where the members of Congress' money was at stake and no one else's. It was a situation where all the overdrafts were finally covered. I don't defend that system. I've criticized it. But I think it's important to keep the issues of government and the concern of people in some proportion. This show has engaged in a great deal of demagoguery, if I may say so. Congress certainly can be criticized, and I'm one of the most vociferous critics. But really, you've lost a total sense of balance and proportion on this show. And if you wonder why people think that government is in low esteem, you sometimes have to look at the press and journalism in terms of how it covers issues and how it covers these problems. I don't think this show has presented a very balanced or proportionate picture, if I may say so.
Well,
Matt I disagree with that. I think with Matt McHugh on, it has a very good balance. He gives about the best case I've ever heard for this kind of activity, and it seems to me you couldn't you couldn't very well have a better spokesman.
I'm not defending this activity.
Matt, of course you're not defending it, but you're making the best case that can be made for it, but you're doing it very honestly. You're a terrific congressman, Matt.
Thank you.
And you haven't bounced a check.
No, I haven't.
Matt, you're probably a terrific guy, and I bet your constituents love you. You know, the problem is that constituents always love their particular member of Congress and hate Congress as a whole. You say this costs Congress or costs the taxpayers nothing. It costs the taxpayers a great deal. It costs the taxpayers that sense of the fact that they have someone in Congress, or the Congress of the United States, operating on their behalf. They don't think that's the case today. And they don't think it's the case because of just like things like this. Never mind the parking tickets. That's cheap. But the House bank, the fact that a member of Congress can get carried for 2, 3, 4 years, $500,000 in one case, that tells you there's something going on besides operating in the public's interest.
Mike,
People know this.
Those figures are not correct. Members of Congress were not carried for more than a month. They had their salary deposits coming in the first of each month. And these $400,000, $500,000 figures are face amounts of checks which have nothing to do with the actual deficiencies.
That's a lot of money.
I think it's very important to focus on what the facts are. The deficiencies in an account are what are important, not the face amounts.
Senator,
we don't know what the facts are unless you get the people's names out there. Let the people explain what the facts are.
Mr. Barnacle, let me break in just for a moment. I want to ask Senator Proxmire, who's now out of the Senate after a long and distinguished term there, to take the long view on this. What happens to our politics when the public begins to feel such a sense of distance, such a sense of alienation from the people they elect to Congress?
Well, what happens, of course, is they get disillusioned with the whole process. But frankly, the real responsibility is theirs. They elected these fellows to the House, and they should face up to that fact. They should face up to the fact that they are responsible for our government. That's what democracy means. And they forget it. And if they do that, I think they'd be much less likely to elect the people who abuse their privileges this way.
And Mike Barnacle, we have less than 30 seconds left. You put your finger on it. We get these scandals. People say that they're going to throw the rascals out, and then 98% of the congressmen running for re-election get sent back. You expect a big change this difference? We've got about 20 seconds left.
What happens is you get a guy like Matt McHugh, terrific congressman, could be replaced by a house painter in November. That happens.
Because of the fact that people are so desperate and are looking for some change?
Get him out.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Senator Proxmire, Congressman McHugh, Mike Barnacle, thank you all very much. And as we noted before, the vote in the House on whether to accept the Ethics Committee plan and name only the 24 worst offenders will be held this week. And we'll be back in a moment.
If you're considering some new lawn or garden equipment, remember that no one can match the quality and variety of John Deere. For example, the air-conditioned John Deere 8760 will plow the average garden in just 4.5 seconds. And there's also the John Deere 285. While it lacks air conditioning, it does take less space. For your lawn, there's the Maximizer Combine at around $100,000. But you and your neighbors might prefer the STX for less than $2,000. For landscaping, almost any one of our lawn and garden tractors will do just fine. Or of equal quality, there's the John Deere 892 excavator. It can not only transplant rhododendrons, but even move your neighbor's car if he parks in your driveway. So whatever your lawn and garden needs, be sure to see your John Deere dealer. He'll get you just the right equipment for whatever job you need to do. That is, if he can.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Happy birthday to you.
This is regular. This is better.